Due to his unorthodox resume, Kawhi Leonard is one of the most controversial and polarizing players of all time. So, in this video, I'm going to be taking a look at where Kawhi Leonard will rank all time when he retires and where he ranks now, and looking at the two cases for where he should rank. So, if we go over his resume, he has played 9 years in the NBA, and he has dealt with a lot of injuries, which has led to an unorthodox resume, but there's some other things that have led to that. And he wasn't a star immediately. He was the 15th pick in the draft, and he had to work his way up and improve quite a bit. He's a 4-time All-Star, 4-time All-NBA player, 6-time All-Defense, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, 2-time Finals MVP, and 2-time NBA champ. And he's still only 29 years old, so he has plenty of time to add to that resume. If we talk about his skill set, Kawhi is a great defender on the perimeter, especially, maybe the greatest perimeter defender of all time. He has great hands. His hands are also massive, which leads to him getting a ton of steals. He has great strength too, which makes him a tough defender in the post and leads to easy drives to the rim offensively and helps him finish. He also has good balance. He consistently ranks among the top players in steals in the NBA due to his massive hands and great anticipation, and he is very good. He is a very good rebounder, leading to the "board man gets paid" slogan. And then if we talk about his offensive game, which has very, very much developed in the later part of his career, he is a great mid-range shooter, one of the best ever. He's also a good post-up player, similar to legends like Jordan and Kobe. And he's also good inside and good at finishing inside over taller defenders. He can take a smaller defender into the post, and he has great strength, and that helps him a lot there. He's also a good three-point shooter. He can shoot threes off the dribble or in high pick-and-roll situations, but he can also be a 3-and-D guy. And he has improved his playmaking massively in the past few seasons, going from a guy who doesn't average many assists to a guy who can average 5-6 assists and be the primary creator for a team down the stretch. So that has been very impressive. In his best season, he can average like 27 points, 7 boards, 5 assists, and 2 steals. And he also has a few clutch performances, and then he obviously has the shot against Philadelphia, so quite a bit of good legacy moments and a very impressive skill set, especially in the last few years. So if we talk about his all-time ranking, this differs quite a bit from person to person. Some people have him very high because he's maybe the best perimeter defender of all time. He's a 2-time Finals MVP, a 2-time NBA champion, and a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. Very few, if any, players can match that resume and those specific awards, and it's very, very impressive. And then some people have him much, much lower because he's not a great regular season player, and his counting stats just simply don't compare to other all-time great players. That is because he's only played 9 years, and because he's missed many seasons to injuries. He's only been an All-Star 4 times, which is very, very few amount of times. And injuries have also taken away from postseason runs, like in 2017, and he's been injured for full seasons in his prime, and that definitely hurts him in terms of counting stats, but also maybe in terms of awards and resume. And you can learn a lot about what people value based off where they rank Kawhi. If they value playoff performances and peak and defense, they will have him very, very high. But if they look to counting stats and longevity, he may not be even in their top 50. So he's a very polarizing player, and there's two very different ends to the spectrum of where people rank Kawhi. So it's really, really interesting to look at him all time. I tend to lean on the higher side because I do value his peak performances, especially the 2019 run, and I think he does have the talent to match some of the all-time greats and the skill set for sure. And I also like that he impacts the game on both ends, like almost all the great players do. So if we talk about that 2019 run with the Raptors, certainly the most impressive run of his career, and a lot of what he'll look to. One of the most impressive single-player postseason runs in NBA history, that is for sure. In the first round, they faced the Magic after going down 1-0. He definitely carried them for large portions of that series, but they were always better than the Magic. And then in round 2 against Philly, his most impressive performances ever in that series. The Raptors win the first game, then lose the next 2, and then in Game 4, Kawhi is clearly injured in this series. He's pretty much playing on one leg. He absolutely carries them through Game 4. I think he has like 45 points and ties it up at 2-2. He hits a variety of tough shots in that game. He's also playing good defense on guys like Jimmy Butler and Ben Simmons. And that is just so impressive how he carries that team through Game 4. Because if the Sixers win that, they go on to the next round basically, because they're up 3-1, and I doubt they're blowing a 3-1 win. And then the Sixers and Raptors trade the next 2 games, and we get to Game 7, and maybe the most impressive performance of Kawhi's career in a Game 7 that was just so intense. He had like 41 points and like double-digit rebounds. Him and Ibaka were basically the only 2 Raptors who showed up, and it was basically only Kawhi. And he really stepped up in that game. And then it all led to the ultimate buzzer beater, which is the only Game 7 walk-off buzzer beater in NBA history. And, that was just such a tough shot, but also a shot that Kawhi can hit due to his skill set. He just gets to his spot, rises up over the defense from Embiid and Simmons, and just hits the shot with a couple of bounces. And, one of the greatest shots of all time, if not the greatest shot of all time. And the Raptors are through to the next round, but they still have to face the Bucks. And in that series, the Bucks take the first 2 games, but then Kawhi switches on to Giannis, and they win the next 4, the Raptors do. In that series, he created a lot of 3-point shots for his teammates, but also had an impressive scoring series, and he played great defense. His defense on Giannis is really what won them that series. And then in the finals, that was a good team performance by the Raptors, and obviously the Warriors suffered with injuries, but he still comfortably won the finals MVP and was the best player on the best team that year, and one of the most impressive playoff runs in NBA history by a single player. And I think that's a large part of his legacy, and that is really like his biggest selling point, that and his defense, on why he should be high on all time. So one last thing I want to touch on is Kawhi versus Pippen and all time. This is a very interesting debate, because I'm pretty comfortable and confident in saying that Kawhi is a better player than Pippen is, just in terms of talent and impact on the game. But Pippen obviously has the 6 championships and better longevity than Kawhi to this point, but Kawhi does have 2 finals MVPs and 2 defensive players of the year. So it's a very interesting comparison. And I think Kawhi will be in the same realm as Pippen if he isn't already, or if he hasn't surpassed him already, or will he surpass him in his career. It's very interesting. Just comparing those 2 players. So if we, Kawhi still has plenty of career left. Like, he's a 4-time All-Star and 4-time All-NBA. He's 29. How many more seasons where he is an All-Star? Well, he's going to be an All-Star and All-NBA player this year, so that's 5. And then maybe 3 or 4 more. You just don't know with Kawhi. I could see him playing for a very long time. I could see him retiring soon-ish, just because he has dealt with a lot of injuries in his career, and that could slow him down. So we'll see with that one. Another thing is, could he win the MVP this year? He's in contention. It's not impossible, but it is unlikely. And an MVP would do a lot for his career. He was obviously in contention for MVP in 2017. So that, again, is interesting and could definitely add to his legacy. So if we get to the verdict, I think Kawhi he polarizes people now. I think he still will when he retires and like in 50 years, just because his career resume and career arc is so unorthodox and is almost uncomparable to any other player. So I think he's a very good player. He's been one of the best players in the league for the past couple of seasons, and he definitely deserves to be in the top 50, and I think he'll definitely move up into the top 30 and maybe even past that if he isn't past that already. So that's the end of this video, guys. Thanks for watching, and like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.